Welcome to Perfectly Normal, the only channel where we realize that history isn't just written by the victors, sometimes it's written by the incredibly misguided. We're told that human innovation is a beautiful, majestic thing. The wheel, the light bulb, the internet, which you are currently using to watch a monocle-wearing pigeon, truly the peak of evolution. But for every Thomas Edison, there's a guy who probably should have just stayed in bed. Today, we're looking at brilliant historical minds who completely skipped the safety testing phase. Men who looked at the laws of physics, laughed, and then were immediately destroyed by those exact same laws. These are the inventors who suffered from their own success so badly that their creations literally took them out. Let's dive into the absurdly tragic yet entirely avoidable deaths of history's unluckiest inventors. And hey, if you enjoy watching humanity take massive L's, hit that subscribe button. It's completely safe. I promise it won't invent a pulley system to strangle you in your sleep. Probably. Chapter 1. The Flying Tailor. Let's travel back to Paris, 1912. Paris, the city of love, light, and tailors aggressively plummeting from national monuments. Meet Franz Reichelt. Franz was a successful tailor, but he had a dream. He looked at birds and thought, you know what, I could do that. I just need more fabric. Franz decided to invent a wearable parachute suit for pilots. Now, in the early 1900s, airplanes were new, and safety was basically just a suggestion. So, Franz designed a suit that looked less like a parachute and more like a giant, highly aggressive sleeping bag. A normal, perfectly normal person might test this invention with a sandbag, or a dummy, or maybe by jumping off a sturdy coffee table. Not Franz. Franz possessed the kind of unearned confidence that you usually only see in internet trolls. He somehow convinced the Parisian police to let him test his suit by jumping off the first platform of the Eiffel Tower, which is about 190 feet or 57 meters in the air. On February 4th, 1912, Franz stood on the ledge. The cameras were rolling. The crowd was watching. He hesitated. Maybe for a second his brain said, "Hey buddy, this is a literal tent." But he jumped anyway. And as it turns out, gravity does not care about your tailoring skills. The suit immediately folded up, and Franz hit the frozen ground like a sack of extremely confident potatoes. He left a 6-inch crater in the soil. Task failed successfully. He definitely proved the suit didn't work. Moving on. Chapter 2. The One-Man Environmental Disaster. Next, we have Thomas Midgley Jr. If you don't know who he is, congratulations, your lungs probably still hate him anyway. Midgley was an American mechanical engineer and chemist who holds a very special place in history. He is widely considered the single most dangerous organism to ever walk the Earth since the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Why? Because he invented two things: leaded gasoline, which poisoned the entire global population for decades, and CFCs, the chemical in aerosols that literally punched a gaping hole in the Earth's ozone layer. But don't worry, karma is real, and karma is a very, very patient comedian. Later in life, Midgley contracted polio, which left him severely disabled and bedridden. Now, being the incurable inventor that Midgley was, he refused to just hire a nurse. Instead, he built an overly complicated system of strings, pulleys, and harnesses to lift himself out of bed. It was basically a Rube Goldberg machine for waking up. In 1944, Midgley got tangled in his own invention. The ropes twisted, the pulleys locked, and the machine successfully strangled its creator to death. His own invention took him out. The man who tried to suffocate the entire planet was ultimately suffocated by his own bed. Honestly, the writers of human history really peaked with the poetic justice on that one. Chapter 3. The Cursed Submarine. If you thought the bed-pulley was bad, let me introduce you to Horace Lawson Hunley, a man who looked at the ocean and said, "I want to be in the darkest, most terrifying part of that, in a metal tube that doesn't work." During the American Civil War, Hunley developed one of the world's first combat submarines. It was powered by a hand crank, lit by a single candle, and held 8 guys. It was basically an underwater coffin with terrible airflow. During its first test run, it sank and it killed 5 people. Now, a normal military would say, "Okay, bad idea, let's scrap it." But the Confederate Army said, "No, fetch it from the bottom of the ocean, let's try again." So they dragged it up, and for the second test, Horace Lawson Hunley himself decided to take the helm, because nothing says confidence than getting into the exact same cursed metal tube that just drowned your friends. Take a wild guess what happened. That's right, it sank again, killing Hunley and the entire crew. And because humanity refuses to learn, they pulled it up a 3rd time. It went on to sink an enemy ship and then immediately sank itself for the 3rd and final time, killing everyone on board again. Hunley, my guy, if your invention has a 300% mortality rate for its own users, maybe pivot to making aggressively safe furniture. Chapter 4. The Hubris Lighthouse. Finally, we arrive at the peak of human hubris, Henry Winstanley. In 1698, Henry built the very first offshore lighthouse in the world, the Eddystone Lighthouse in England. Honestly, it was a massive engineering feat. Henry was a genius. But Henry was also incredibly cocky. He was so incredibly proud of his lighthouse that he didn't just want a pat on the back, he publicly announced that his ultimate wish was to be inside his lighthouse during the greatest storm in history, just to prove to the world how indestructible it was. Never, ever challenge Mother Nature to a boxing match. She will absolutely rock your jaw. In November 1703, the universe said, "Hold my beer." The Great Storm of 1703 hit the English Channel. It was one of the most destructive hurricanes in British history. And guess who got his wish? Henry was inside the lighthouse doing repairs when the storm hit. The next morning, the skies cleared. The locals looked out to sea. The lighthouse was completely gone. Not a single brick was left. And Henry? Also gone. Mother Nature basically granted his wish and then immediately uninstalled him from the server. So what have we learned today, friends? Innovation is great, but hubris is deadly. If you invent a flying suit, start by jumping off a chair, not a national monument. Instead of inventing deadly gadgets, just do what the rest of us do. Sit comfortably on your couch, drink your sarcasm juice, and watch internet videos about people who made terrible decisions. If you loved this deep dive into the absurd side of history, make sure to gently tap, do not smash the like button. Subscribe to Perfectly Normal for more weird facts, and let me know in the comments which of these inventors had the absolute worst judgment. Until next time, stay safe, don't test your own parachutes, and keep it perfectly normal. See ya!